Hello everybody, this is Yasmin from Yarkspiri and welcome to another illustration video tutorial. So for this week's video tutorial, I will actually be drawing a werewolf character that is trying to protect its girlfriend. So for this reason, although the main focus would be the werewolf, I did have to show that the werewolf would be trying to confront the enemy up front. So for this, it required actually quite a bit of work to figure out the general pose in the initial stages. Now, before I continue with the little mini lecture that I normally talk about, I do have a question for you guys, my subscribers at the moment, because I am debating whether or not to publish eventually a calendar set with my drawings, because I have been completing most of my drawings that you see to a more finalized stage. Because what you see in these video tutorials is more of just the progress up to about 8 hours, but normally I spend another 10 to 15 hours fine-tuning and polishing images to a higher level of detail. So what I need to know from you guys is whether or not you would prefer to have a book published, possibly at a higher cost, or have a calendar published instead. So I would need to know if you could put that in the comments below, because obviously if you don't comment, then I don't know if you guys want to see that. The more comments I get for one particular item, the higher the likelihood would be for me to actually publish a book based off that. So please let me know in the comments below, and I'll just get back to the lecture now for this week. So as you can see, I'm figuring out the basic colors I'm actually going to use for this drawing. Now, as I'm painting this, I am actually still painting with a certain level of transparency in certain areas, and that's because I want that blue to actually act as my mid-tone color for this image. So there's actually going to be quite a bit of areas within the character's entire body where they're unpainted, specifically so that the background color will actually show through instead. Now this is done on purpose to act as the mid-tone color, because generally in a drawing you have a highlight, mid-tone, and a darker portion of shadow. That's just a very basic outline of the different layers, but taking this in mind, like I said before, I'm using the gray-blue color that I already have pre-established in this painting as a background to act as the bluish color that's going to be the mid-tone. Now, the reason why I did this is to include a little bit more color variation in the actual character design. There is a secondary function as well, and it does help show a little bit more of the depth, and by showing more areas that have more of this background showing through, then those areas actually look further away as well. So I was using this as a method to also pull back some of the elements and some of the body portions of the character by showcasing more of that blue color showing through. Now, as you can see, I'm working on the hands, and I did want to give these hands a slightly menacing look because the werewolf is trying to protect his girlfriend. So I did look in the mirror to see how my own hands would look in a pose where it seemed a bit more threatening, where potentially any clawed-like creature would be able to take advantage of a stronger grip. So by doing that, it gave me a better sense of how to actually pose out the hands. Now I'm darkening up some of the key areas here. By doing this, it helps make certain areas pop, and it also helps showcase a little bit more information in areas that would be more in shadow as well. Now, I haven't started on the clothing design yet. The reason why I haven't finished this yet, or even started plotting it out for the most part, is that I'm trying to maintain the same colors throughout the image as I'm painting. So I'm constantly sampling the colors within the body, because I do want to complete that first simply because that does normally take a lot longer, and the information that I put in these areas highly influences the clothing design that I'll be doing later. So I'm just hinting at some of the areas that would actually tie into the rest of the body, and I've just started working on the head portion now. So I didn't quite like the proportions that I had, so I just increased the size a bit. I am working on the head on a separate layer, specifically because I knew that I would probably be changing the dimensions and possibly also the location of the head and maybe the rotation later on. I didn't end up changing the rotation, but I did change the head size later on once it was a little bit more fleshed out. So as you can see, I'm adding some of those blue tones to the face. I will actually be using more blue tones to help recede more portions of the face very shortly. Just trying to show the proper amount of muscle structure in that face. Just trying to figure out the proper structure of the nose as well, because I do want to show that the nose is crumpled up because of the jaw coming outwards and parting to show that he's growling. So I've just lightened some of the contours of the face so that I can recede some of the jawline, and also re-establish some of the shapes for that jawline to make it more accurate as well. So working on the teeth. And the basic information for his head is nearly completed. Just hinting at the ears right now. And I will leave the eyes almost entirely until the last moment, just because I can change a lot of that information later on. So I'm adding the female character, as you can see. Now, because the key focus in this is the fact that the werewolf is defending the female, I did want to give the female more of a innocent and vulnerable look. So she is hiding behind her boyfriend, who is apparently a werewolf. So in order to portray that, I do have her actually wrapping her hands around, in fear, around the werewolf. Now this is very important because this shows that both her and the werewolf are, well, they're boyfriend and girlfriend, so they do have that emotional attachment to each other. And by doing this, it helps reinforce that, because in general, even if you're a best friend and you're theoretically, if your friend was a werewolf, you probably wouldn't wrap your hands around them, even if you were in fear. So for her, she's very comfortable with the fact that he does undergo these transformations, and that he does undergo this on a fairly regular basis. So she's already used to this, and she knows that he can control his behavior. Just finishing up the eyes and working out the claws right now. Now, I will be starting the background elements very shortly after I finish the hair on the werewolf. When I start working, or once I finish the background elements, I actually start working on showing what the werewolf is trying to defend his girlfriend from. But I'm only hinting at the information. I'm not actually showing the viewer exactly what it is. You will see later on how I actually do that. Just putting some cast shadows on the feet. Finding some of the shadows in the body and adding some highlights in those shorts. And I've just started working on the background elements. Now, because these are background elements, I am using textured brushes to help save a bit of time. So I'm using my cloud brush as well as a separate textured brush to achieve this look. And as you can see, I'm just switching between the two brushes. There's a couple ways I could have done this background element. An easier way would have actually been to look at some textures online, preferably textures that were used for 3D, and use those. But I decided not to do that, and I decided to paint it in instead. And I did experiment with how I was going to show what the creature was. And I did decide that showing just the plain silhouette worked better, so that's what I ended up doing for this. If you want to have your say on what's drawn for next week's video tutorial, or have some additional questions about my drawing process, please leave a comment below. I will take the feedback you guys give me and try to answer your questions while working on next week's painting. If you want to see some of my previous works, please feel free to check out the annotations on the side of this video, or visit my channel for the full playlist. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you and take care.